I think we're making a mistake here. But the one that's the better one of the two is $6,000 more. I know $6,000 is a lot of money. I mean, it's a ton of money. But it's a better machine, and this is a 20-year investment. And I really think we should look at this long and hard before we make a decision here. It's a lot better machine.
The Joe Johnson equipment machine?
That's correct. I studied these. I went down to the DPW garage and was there when they had a demonstration with that one, but I've also read the literature on both. And this is a huge investment. That this isn't, you're not, because believe me, I've made the mistake of buying cheaper. It's only going to catch up to you in the end. I think we should really either make a decision to buy the other one, or
Can you speak to that?
Well, that's one of, okay.
either make a decision to buy the more expensive one, or table it until another time when we can discuss this further, because I think we're making a mistake here. That's just my opinion. I've done the homework on this, and cheaper isn't better.
Well, we have a bidding process where we're obligated to go usually with the lowest bid. I will defer to Mr. DeBatis to describe when we can deviate from the lowest bid. If he wants to talk about that. If not, Mr. Bode, do you have any thoughts on any differential between the lower bid and the other equipment with respect to the quality of the equipment or suitability, compliance with the specs?
I guess the biggest thing is that the trackless has been around longer. It's a more, I won't say proven. We have one that's 11 years old that they've made everything that we had a problem with, they've changed and made improvements for. The McLean is a newer machine. It's not, I don't think there's a machine of that make in New York State, but if you go through the bid process, I don't know how. I mean, there's not that much of a significant difference.
Okay, the Trackless is the brand name that Johnson sells,
Yes.
and McLean is the one that Tracy sells.
Right. And older,
You have the more experience with the trackless? Is that what you're saying?
we had one. We had a Bombardier in 77 and 97. We had a trackless from 97 to now.
I've seen that.
And about, I'd say a month ago, my mechanic said he'd never get another trackless because of the fun he's had over the last 11 years. But looking at that piece of equipment, we looked at all of them. He's satisfied that they've made the improvements that he had a problem with. He doesn't really, I think he feels better because that machine has been around for 20 some odd years, but he's not as familiar with McLean because it's a new make. I mean, without Mike or the comptroller making a decision of, what you can, I mean, if you look at the rate calendars, they're not too far off. I mean, there's some things that Tracy exceeds, and there's minor things that aren't really a subtraction point. Now, there's more glass and more plastic on the McLean. That can be an advantage and a disadvantage. I mean, it's a heavier machine. It meets the horsepower, but that's
Which one is the McLean now?
the Tracy wrote that one.
Is there any problem getting replacement parts if you needed with either one of these?
Coming from some other states, so I mean, sometimes you wait, it's really probably more than likely what goes wrong, that how they would stock it. In the past couple of winters, we've waited for parts for our own trackless, so.
The track that we had for 20 years, though, that plowed sidewalks and that was it, correct?
Right.
The trackless, we mowed.
Well, we've used that, when we bought it in 97, we bought a brush hog that the water department has used on the transmission line, which we we discussed before Christmas when we had that meeting, that probably took some life out of it. That's why I believe we took the planer, the concrete planer, out of this bid also to not beat it up as much, so.
I can offer a little bit of clarity. Didn't want to talk over it. The general requirement of the law is that you take the lowest qualified bid. And it sounds like there's been some post-bid discussion about adjustments to the equipment, or did you rebid?
It was a complete rebid, so.
Complete rebid.
Right, this is a whole separate, this is a brand new bid.
So this is a brand new bid, and they're all determined, I think it says, meeting specs, right? They all meet the
Except for the-
specifications.
Except for the holder, we feel does not meet specs because
That's the
middle one, the
middle one,
Syncon.
Syncon.
We specified 115 horsepower, it's 80.
Okay.
The torque at 360, it's 170. The weight is lighter. Your hydraulic system that have pumped it should be a minimum of 15 gallons, it's only 9. So based on that, it seems to be a lighter duty truck or lighter duty piece of equipment, so that's why we felt, agreeing with Councilman Jones, that if you're gonna, if this is a 20-year, you don't want to get a lightweight. I mean, we kind of do that way with all our vehicles. You don't, I would prefer to have a vehicle operate at 85 to 90% capacity, so you might spec it as opposed to operating at 95 to 110. I mean, you're going to have stress if you're at the maximum limits of what your vehicle can handle. So we tend to, you want it beefed up enough so that you can be preserved to get a longer life out of it. So.
Having determined that two of them meet specifications, therefore determined, when engineers determine that they are qualified bids and the way the law works, as I understand it now, there might be a little note or cranny that might be different, and I'd be happy to research it if you want, but as I understand the law, you have to go with the lowest qualified bid.
Dan, if you don't mind, what, based on what Mr. Lowe said, how one has been on board for 20 years and McLean, the one that's been on board for 20 years, and the trackless has been on for a few years. Have you had experience with both of them?
Yeah, just happens that the track has been around long.
Okay, I mean, sorry.
Yes,
Right.
there are a lot of municipalities have them. Village of Hamilton has 2 of them. The city of Sherrill has 1. Everybody's got them. They're a better machine, but you gotta go with what the bid says. I know it's a huge investment, and that's all. I just wanted to just say that, if we're gonna make this investment, we should do, get the best one, but rules are the rules.
I'd be willing to table it if that was the one we're asking the council members.
So do you
So
want,
we can
do
research
you want to make
it more?
you want to make a motion to table this until our next meeting?
I will make that motion to table
I will
this.
second that.
Okay, is there any discussion or comment on the motion to table? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Any abstentions?